Welcome back, friends. After my most recent weekend backpacking trip, I had about a 4-hour drive home, which gave me a lot of time to think about some of the things that I need to change for my next trip. How to make it more comfortable and how to decrease some weight. I started out with about an 18-pound base weight with about a half a fuel canister full of fuel, and as I went down the list, I just had too much stuff. And I was also not very comfortable. This is the pack that I use. This is my Gregory Z35. It's a nice pack. I really like it. It's a multi-compartment pack. Everything I took fit in the pack, no problem. But just because you can stuff a cord of wood into a Volkswagen Beetle and make it home doesn't mean that that's necessarily the best tool for the job. And in this particular case, this was not the best tool for the job that I was doing either. Now, like I said, I packed and repacked this thing about 3 times just to make sure everything would fit a couple weeks before I went. And yeah, I could get everything in there, but since it was a warm weather type of trip, I wasn't carrying really any extra clothes. It was like a pair of socks and a t-shirt, and my sleep system consisted of my Thermarest pad and a sleeping bag liner, just a cotton sleeping bag liner. So I didn't even have a sleeping bag with me. But since everything fit in here, I said, well, hey, we're good to go. But we really weren't, because as I got down the trail, this thing was pretty uncomfortable. Not that it won't handle the weight, it just didn't handle it very well on my back. And I even stopped and repacked it once. Just wasn't going to get there. So the first thing I knew I needed to do was I was going to have to change packs. Now, the other pack that I have is another Gregory. It's a Baltoro 65, and it's way too big a pack, and it's also a heavy pack. This one's not light either. Even though it's only a 35-liter pack, it weighs 3 pounds. My Baltoro weighs over 5, so obviously I'm not going to be using that. I figured if I could get a pack, you know, in the 40-liter range that was designed more like for what I'm using it for, then everything would be good. So we started with a new pack, and I saved a pound. And I'll just have to keep you in suspense as to what pack I ended up with for now. The next thing I did was I went through everything that I had and jettisoned stuff that I knew I wasn't going to need for sure. And this was the first thing to go. My REI FlexLite chair. It's been on 2 trips, hadn't been used either one. So I said, well, we need to do something else, because if I get rid of this, I can save 17 ounces, no problem. I had visions of us getting to camp, me and Tater, and just enjoying ourselves and watching the sun go down. But as it turned out, we didn't even get on the trail till 6 o'clock, and we were pretty tired when we got to camp. And all we wanted to do was have something quick to eat and go to bed. So save 17 ounces right there. The next thing, hard to make this decision, but this is my Ruger LCP2, my 380 pistol I carry with me pretty much everywhere during the week, and it's big brother on the weekends. Had to have a separate pouch for it because it wouldn't fit in my my hip belt pockets. But this total is another pound. So right away, we've cut off 2 pounds by not spending a penny. And then I did have to buy a new pack, but I was going to need that anyway, so that's the way that one goes. But we've saved 3 pounds just right there, right out of the box. Next thing was I wanted to look over was my cook kit. I like this toque system. I've got 2 toque pots. This fits in here. I can even carry a bowl and some other things. But the fact of the matter is, the way I was cooking, all I needed was this. And by just going with the 1-pot system and no bowl, no titanium bowl, 5.6 ounces of weight savings right there. Next thing is a comfort item. It was great backpacking with the wife in our larger Marmot tent to have this lantern there, but for my REI Quarter Dome 1 single man tent, I really didn't need it. It was kind of in the way, and all the light that I really needed was headlamp. So I leave this thing at home, 4.25 ounces there. A little bit embarrassed about this because paranoia set in. Like I said, I didn't get on the trail till after 6. I had visions of us searching for a place to pitch the tent, and even though I have this little stream light in my pocket, and I also had my headlamp in my pack, and one other light happens to be in my ditty bag, I grabbed this one out of the console, and it weighs a little bit, 3.3 ounces, but I really just thought, you know, we were going to be looking for a campsite. Come to find out, didn't need it. So just gotta cut back on the redundancy there. Next thing is my food bag. I don't have a double throwdown Z-Packs Cuban fiber $30 lightweight food bag. I've just got one of these No Limits dry bags from Academy. I can buy 4 of these instead of one Z-Pack and still have money left over for a Dr. Pepper. So not going to save any money there, but what I did save is in the food that was in the bag. Kind of a recurring problem I have, no matter what I do, I carry too much food. Also carry too much food for the dog. I know Tater doesn't eat the first night he's away from home, period. He'll nibble at some stuff, but he just doesn't eat enough food. I took enough food for him for 6 meals, and he only needed food for really 3, maybe 4. So I cut back on his food, dumped out my food bag. Instead of giving myself choices for breakfast, I'm going, hey, we're just going to have oatmeal, or we're just going to have this for lunch. We're not going to have a bunch of choices. And by doing that, I was able to knock off almost a pound, 13 ounces, just paring back my food. I've never come home with completely empty food, not snacks or something. I've always got extra food, extra snacks, so I've just got to be more diligent about the food that I'm carrying. Talking about the food bag, here's my bear bag rig. 550 paracord, big ass honking carabiner, and too much rope. Ended up with some much smaller rope, only about 25 feet of rope, small carabiner, plus it's reflective, I'll be able to see it at night. But just changing out that rig, I was able to save 1.9 ounces right there. Just kind of paying attention, I can knock some stuff off. This is my ditty bag, got a video on it. It doesn't weigh all that much because it's mesh, but I had too much crap in it. Probably still do. We're talking about these flashlights here. Inside here I've got one of those little $3 clip on the bill of your trucker cap light for emergency. It's one of those in there too. So I had 4 different sources of light, which is kind of goofy. Also had some other things in here that I didn't need, some guy line tensioners and this and that, but just going through the ditty bag, and I can still cut some more out of here, I saved 2.6 ounces. Now this is something that most people aren't going to think about or worry about, but this is Tater's 8-foot leather dog leash with a nice lightweight stainless steel snap on the end. The reason I'm counting this is because this is in my front pocket. If we came upon some horses or a group of people or some other people with dogs, I got to hook him up. And this thing is pretty heavy. So what I did with it, I just made one. I got a carabiner, and if you're gonna make one with a dog leash, for a dog leash, just make sure you use a load bearing carabiner. This one here has a load rating of 150 pounds versus the junk you see on the counter at Lowe's or Home Depot for $1.99 or something. Something that's actually going to work. And this rope, I got 10 feet of this rope, and it's rated 350 pounds. So I don't even know that this thing's in my pocket. It just doesn't feel like anything. But just by making that change between the leather and this is 4.8 ounces. And this is light enough to where he can carry this. So we'll just be taking this out of my pocket and putting it in his little pack. Now up there in Ouachita, it's rocky. And so when you're trying to pitch your tent, man, you're trying to just find a place where you can get a tent stake in, and you move all around. I ended up bending 2 stakes. Now these are just the your basic little lightweight alloy steaks that come with most REI tents and a lot of the big Agnes tents and the different ones. And so I was gonna have to replace a couple steaks. So I got to thinking, I wonder how much I can save here. So I got to looking at the MSR groundhog steaks, and I said, well, I'll just buy me some of those. But for really a little less money, I was able to buy some titanium steaks from Gossamer Gear down there in Austin, Texas. And by switching out those steaks for these, I was able to save not a whole lot, 1.25 ounces, but shoot, titanium is just way cooler than aluminum, don't you think? So anyway, that's kind of how I went on a diet and didn't have to spend a whole lot of money to do it outside of buying that new pack, but I'm gonna need that anyway. And all total of all this, I was able to save 5 pounds and 3.5 ounces. So I feel pretty good about that, and I think that I can even trim off some more. Now, I'm not an ultralight backpacker. I didn't go looking for an ultralight pack, but I did come up with something that was able to save me a pound. So I'm just trying to make some decisions here to where I can cut a few ounces here and there. I'm not going to cut straps off my pack. I'm not going to cut my toothbrush in half or anything. But when I can save weight, especially on big things like this, I'm going to take advantage of it. So let me know if you did the same thing or had the same concerns and you decide to go on a diet as well, and let me know where you cut your weight too, because I always like to hear from you guys as well. So until next time, you guys be safe, and I hope to see you out on the trail. Adios.